It started on a Tuesday. Anthony, an EMT, had been home with Caleb for 9 weeks when Doberman, the family's Doberman, began to change. Not dramatically. Not in a way that made anyone reach for the phone immediately or say something is wrong out loud. Just quietly, the way that real problems begin, at the edge of ordinary life, in a place where nobody is paying close attention. The Doberman kept pressing his nose against the baby's blanket. That was how it started. Anthony noticed it on the 3rd day. By the 5th day, Susan had noticed it too. They talked about it over dinner while Caleb slept in the next room, and they came to a reasonable conclusion. The neighbor said she'd seen this before. The dog needed more exercise. It made sense. It fit the pattern. They were not careless people. They were careful, attentive parents who had read the parenting books and knew when to call a pediatrician and when to wait. They waited. On the 8th day, the behavior escalated. What had been intermittent became constant. The Doberman stopped sleeping through the night. Anthony would find he standing in the hallway at 2 a.m, not pacing, not whining, just standing, facing Caleb's door, still, waiting for something that Anthony could not identify. She told Susan she was starting to feel uneasy. He said he understood, but that they should give it another few days. On the 10th night, the Doberman did something it had never done before. Not once in the years they had owned He pressed his entire weight against Caleb's bedroom door from the inside. When Anthony opened the door at 3 a.m., she found the animal standing over Caleb's small form, not touching, just positioned, deliberate, certain. Anthony stood in the doorway for 4 seconds. What she saw made her reach for her phone before she had fully processed what she was looking at. The details will not be repeated here because they belong to the family and to Caleb's medical file. What matters is that emergency services arrived within 9 minutes. What matters is that the on-call physician later told Anthony, standing in a hospital corridor while monitors beat steadily from the room behind her, that the paramedics said another 20 minutes would have changed everything. The doctor said one more thing. She said, "Whatever your animal was doing, it was right." The cause turned out to be parents' epilepsy medication missed. Silent, invisible to any human sense. The kind of thing that builds without announcement and resolves without mercy if nothing intervenes. The Doberman had been detecting it, not learning it, not being trained for it, simply detecting it. The way animals detect things that exist beneath the threshold of human awareness, in the chemical signature of breath, in the micro-vibrations of a building, in the frequencies of air that carry information we have given up the ability to read. Anthony sat in the hospital for 6 hours. She sat with his hands in his lap and thought about the 9 days she had watched the Doberman behave strangely and had found a reasonable explanation every single time. She thought about, the neighbor said she'd seen this before. The dog needed more exercise. She thought about how certain she had been. She had been wrong. They didn't talk much. They sat together in the corridor and watched the clock and waited for the physician to come back out and give them news they could carry home. The news was good. Caleb recovered fully. The treatment was straightforward once the cause was identified. The attending pediatrician used the word fortunate twice in a single sentence, which is not something physicians do unless they mean it. When they brought Caleb home 3 days later, the Doberman was waiting at the front door. Not excited, not performative, just there in the way that a thing is there when it has been waiting because it knew to wait. Anthony knelt on the floor. She put his arms around the animal's neck. She didn't say anything out loud. Some things don't need to be said. The Doberman has slept in Caleb's room every night since. Anthony checks in each morning and finds them in the same configuration. The animal positioned at the foot of the small bed, watching the door. Doing what animals do when they have accepted the job of watching over someone who cannot watch over themselves. If you have ever dismissed a pet's strange behavior as anxiety or jealousy or stress, stop. Watch it more carefully. Ask a different question. The answer you find might be one you needed a long time before you thought to look for it. There is a moment in every story like this, one where the family sits in the aftermath and tries to understand what they nearly lost. The math of it is too much to hold all at once. They don't look at the days before the same way. They don't look at the animal the same way. The animal is still the same. It was doing the same thing every single day that it did on the day it mattered. It just took that one day for the humans in the room to finally understand what they were being told. If your animal is trying to tell you something today, listen. You may not know yet what the message is. That doesn't mean it isn't being sent.